Why does Mr. Ping's meat taste so good? I love Kung Fu Panda's dad, but it always haunted me why I loved duck meat so much as a kid. So naturally, armed with an insatiable appetite for both knowledge and meat alike, I set out to discover the genetic basis behind this little guy's secrets. What sort of bird is he? Why would he rather slave away in a noodle shop than fly away? And most importantly, why does his meat taste so good? I will answer all these questions and more by researching the most fundamental unit of Mr. Ping, his DNA. And stick around till the end because I will be trying some illegal Mr. Ping meat. Unbeknownst to me, Mr. Ping is actually a goose, not a duck. But what type? Well, based on an in-depth analysis, one feature stands out. His massive knob. Or rather, lack thereof. See, Mr. Ping is presumably from China, yet unlike typical native Chinese geese, he doesn't have a knob on his upper bill, similar to European geese breeds. This seems super fishy, and it leaves us with three options. 1. Mr. Ping is a European geese role-playing as a Chinese one. 2. DreamWorks were too lazy to properly animate him. Or 3. He's got a variant in the crucial DIO2 gene linked to knob formation that tweaks how tissues convert T4 into active T3, changing local thyroid hormone signaling in the skin and bone. But if we're to use Occam's razor, that sounds way too complicated. The simplicity of option 1, Mr. Ping being a European spy, is therefore much more appealing. And it's technically possible for this little knobhead to emigrate all the way from Europe to China, over the Himalayas, due to another hidden feature of his DNA. A study found that fly-headed geese have 78 positively selected genes enriched for calcium ion and ATP binding. The machinery, muscle contraction, and energy handling during high altitude, low oxygen flights. Due to these adaptive genes, even at the highest point on Earth, Mt Everest, you can still be shot on by a bird. But geese don't just fly high, they also fly far. Liu and colleagues hypothesized that the deletion of the Goose leptin gene may have been selected for during evolution to allow extra fat deposition in the liver for long-distance migratory energy storage. The leptin gene encodes the hormone that tells geese, stop eating, you're full. And who else but the French have exploited this missing gene by force-feeding geese a shit ton of carbs until they can't walk anymore. This causes their livers to deposit an enormous amount of fat, ballooning to 10 times the size. This is known as the delicacy of foie gras. And while it would cause liver fibrosis in humans, Mr. Ping could eat noodles non-stop and avoid many of the symptoms of fatty liver disease. They also found that a bunch of key genes for fat hoarding get turned way up to 11, while others, like ApoB and LPL, which would normally deposit that fat elsewhere, get turned way down. The result? A molecular conveyor belt that converts glucose into fatty acids while blocking all potential exits for fat to escape the liver cells. And you may be wondering to yourself, why am I walking around in nature? The production of foie gras is illegal in Australia due to its cruelty, meaning it's prohibitively expensive to import it. So I thought, if I ever wanted to put Mr. Ping's fatty meat into my mouth, I'd have to source it naturally. Researchers found 28 genes linked to colour, tenderness, fat content, and juiciness. Some variants in these genes, like the GSS gene, tweak how much muscle cells handle oxidative stress after slaughter, which affects colour and freshness. Others, like TMEM65, indirectly control how fat is stored within these muscle fibres, leading to richness and tenderness. But if geese have this fat storing capacity for migration, why does Mr. Ping confine himself to a noodle shop? Why doesn't he also migrate south for the winter like regular geese? A study of the TSHR gene, a hormone receptor that sets metabolic pace and seasonal timing, found domestic geese carry extra sequence changes in exon 10. When humans selected for tame, non-migratory birds, we also nudged TSHR to dial down flight and tune metabolism. The authors propose that our indirect manipulation of the TSHR gene through breeding contributes to the flightlessness and reduced seasonality of domesticated geese. So even if Mr. Ping wanted to be free, he wouldn't be able to fly very far. Luckily for us humans, that doesn't apply. We have no genetic limits on where we want to go, what we want to do, and who we want to be.